Word, AM 590 WEZE, Boston.
Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or
It's up for all of them. I don't care if you're P. Diddy or LeBron James or Bronny James or Stephen A. Smith. Whatever. Anyway, we're here. Amazing Great Sports Network on the air, ready to shake, rattle, and roll, snap, crackle, and pop. Whatever you want to call it, we're here to get it done. I'm here with Kevin Christen in the studio, my partner in crime here. We just had a great talk about the Bruins trade and everything that we think about it. We will get into that, Boston. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody. I'm sure it's something someplace. It might even be nighttime, midnight, but wherever you are, if you're listening to us, you're going to have a great time. Let's get into prayer. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I am reading from the Tony Evers' Prayer for Victory in Spiritual Warfare. And we are in chapter 3, Winning with Thanks by putting on the breastplate of righteousness. Here we go. Father, when I give thanks to you, I am responding to what you have done. I am placing my faith in your goodness. I am trusting in your wisdom. All things come from you, and every ounce of strength I have is a gift from you. Even my gratitude comes from you. It is my prayer today that you give me more of you so that I can give more back to you. I ask this, invoking the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is March 8th, and might as well get on with today in history. What do we got here? Today in history?
Today in history.
There's a couple of different things that happened today in history, but we're going to start off with March 8th, 1971. On March 8th, 1971, smoking Joe Frazier ended Muhammad Ali's professional fight winning streak at 31. In the fight of the century, Frazier defeated Ali at Madison Square Garden in New York City by unanimous decision to retain his heavyweight boxing titles. My question to the audience is, were there any other previous fights of the century? And if so, who was fighting in them? This, just a simple question. And were there any other fights of the century? Because it's hype. Boxing is about promoting and hype. I've already given it away if I've said that were there any and who was fighting in them. Maybe you might go on with that. So, Kevin, any ideas?
I don't. I'm not an avid follower of boxing as you are, my friend.
Well, there we go. There's your question of the day. And also today, before anyone calls and announces it, today is my birthday. And,
that's right.
Yeah. Lucky me. Also born on this day was Carl Furillo of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Jim Bouton of the New York Yankees, Dick Allen of the Phillies and the White Sox, Jumpin' Jim Rice, Boston Red Sox. That's right, Mr. Rice. Buck Williams of the NBA, and one of my least favorite players because I just wish he had been a Patriot because he was that good. Hines Ward of the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right.
Well, hold on. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you, Kevin.
You doing anything fun to celebrate the day?
I'm going to hang out.
Besides being here with me.
Well, yes. I mean, this is the highlight of my day. What else have I got to look forward to after this? It's all downhill. But after that, after some time at home, I'm going to go out to dinner with the wife and my daughter, Amira. Yeah, she's taking me out to dinner, supposedly, but she doesn't know. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to hand the waitress or waiter the credit card as we sit down, so she can't beat me to the punch.
Oh gosh, good. Well, good for you guys.
Thank you.
Good for you guys.
All right, we have to talk about the Bruins. So it's now time for Kevin's beat on the Bruins, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
You want to let me go first?
Yeah, please.
The Bruins.
Since it's your birthday.
the Bruins dealt Brad Marchand, one of the most favorite players I've ever had the pleasure of watching on the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand's heart, I mean, his character. I mean, the guy would stand up to anybody. For a guy that was just only standing 5'5", 6'7", he wasn't scared of anybody. This guy had the heart of the Jefferson Memorial. It was that big. So unbelievable. I'm saddened to see him go. And I'm going to give you my take on what I think about this whole thing. My take on the trade in the Bruins is that it is more of the same for the Bruins. They took the usual cheap and steady approach to the season, which is to gaslight the fans with the possible potential of ABC instead of investing in the talent of X, Y, or Z. The trade is just another negative indictment on the ownership of the club that they really don't care. Now, I know there are many Bruin loyalists out there who would take this personally. I don't want you to. You want to believe that Jacobs really cares about you as a fan base. And I submit to you the cold, hard fact that the Boston Bruins have only won one championship in the 50 years that the Jacobs family has owned the Boston Bruins. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, which means either they are one of the most unlucky ownerships or team franchises in the NHL, or, well, they care more about the fannies in the seats than they care about the fannies who are in the seats, if you know what I mean. They want to fill the seats, but they don't care about the people in the seats. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 50 years since the Bruins have owned since the Jacobs have owned the Bruins, the Celtics have won 7 championships and they're looking for their 8th. The Red Sox have won 4 World Series. And the Patriots have won 6 Lombardi trophies. That's all that to 1. Is anybody getting the picture? Are you seeing something wrong with this? It means that they care more about doing what it takes to get you than what they want to do to keep you. When these teams go out and win these games, like the Celtics, the Red Sox, when they spend the money to take a team, it means they care about you, ladies and gentlemen. We have 3 franchises in this area that care about the fans: the Celtics, the Patriots, and the Red Sox. That's right, I said it, the Red Sox. It may look bad from time to time. It's a tough game. But the Red Sox will do what it takes. And believe me, this year could be one of those years in order to put a field on the team that will not only excite the fans, what they're going to do is they respect you. They respect you as a fan. They want you to feel happy about the team. They're not taken from you as much as they're given to you. And I submit to you, the opposite is true when it comes to the Boston Bruins. They're more concerned about what they're getting than what they're going to give to you as the fan. That's my take on it.
I agree with most of what you said there. Maybe a little bit on the Red Sox. The jury's still out. But if I seem a little quiet this morning, it's because I am utterly disgusted with the way the Boston Bruins continue to operate. Now, we talked about this last week. We've talked about it before. We knew the trade deadline was coming, and we knew Brad Marchand's name was out there to potentially be traded. So when I watched the news yesterday live on the NHL Network with the reports stating that Brad Marchand was likely to be traded, now, of course, the original rumor was he was going to Vegas. The rumor before that was he was going to Toronto. And then, of course, the ultimate rumor, which turned out to be true, was that he was going to the Florida Panthers. When I saw that news on the television, it didn't surprise me. It was clear to me with the way the Bruins have played all year, ever since really Montgomery was fired. Fired's the word you want to use. Quit, resigned, parted ways, however you want to look at it.
However you want to look at it.
Ever since that decision was made, it was clear to me what avenue the Bruins were going to go in. Now, despite the fact that Don Sweeney and Cam Neely at the beginning of the year said this team currently assembled could win a Stanley Cup. With the $82.5 million you spent in the offseason to sign Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov, which have not worked out, which I would liken it to the deals of when they traded for in the Tyler Seguin trade a couple of years ago. Louis Erickson, he never amounted to anything. Just to sign guys, just to trade for guys just because they're names and just because they've had success, in years prior with teams out west doesn't translate well here in Boston. Sometimes it does, but oftentimes it doesn't. And so when I saw the news about Marchand, it didn't surprise me. What did surprise me, Clay, and we'll talk about Brad Marchand and his success with the Boston Bruins and his mentality with the Bruins. He was a Boston Bruin, and he embodied everything that the Boston Bruins are and should be.
Grit.
Exactly right. 1,090 games, 422 goals, 554 assists. Of course, the Stanley Cup champion is in 2011, a four-time All-Star, 138 points in 157 playoff games. I know we got some folks in line. We'll get to the calls, so hang on. What disgusted me the most was the return that Don Sweeney brought in for Brad Marchand. You're not trading Brad Marchand, your captain of the team, who's been with you from the beginning. And without Brad Marchand on the Boston Bruins right now, Clay, and without David Pastrnak, this team would be in the bottom of the, not just the Eastern Conference, but the entire league. And the best you can do is bring in a second-round conditional pick?
Yeah. And
don't get me started because he was injured. I don't want to hear that since he's week to week. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing who Brad Marchand is, if he starts and the Panthers are at the TD Garden on Tuesday night, would not be surprised if Brad Marchand takes the ice to play for the Florida Panthers, because that's the type of player he is. And he wants to play in front of the Bruins' hometown crowd.
Yes.
I don't want to hear that he was injured. You just traded your captain with all the success he's had. Just won Canada. Without him, I don't know if Canada would win a Four Nations.
No.
Okay? And the best you can do, Don Sweeney, is bring in a second-round pick when you got more for trading Charlie Coyle and Brandon Carlo and Justin Brazeau, but you trade your captain? And don't worry, though. The second-round conditional pick is, well, if Florida wins the first two rounds of the Stanley Cup playoff and Marchand plays in 50% of the playoff games, that turns into a first-round pick. Give me a break. Give me a break. The way Don Sweeney has drafted in years prior has been an absolute disgrace and an absolute joke. And yes, the Bruins did need to acquire draft picks because of the horrible draft capital that the Bruins have assembled in the past couple of years. They picked, Clay, in the first 3 rounds in just 3 of the last 7 drafts. Second round only twice in the last 6 drafts. And yet we continue to sit here and talk about the Bruins, and we continue to see coaches being fired. Claude Julien, Bruce Cassidy, Jim Montgomery, and Joe Sacco is not going to be back as head coach. That is for sure.
No.
And yet we continue to see no accountability in the front office. Don Sweeney and Cam Neely continue to stand by. Peter Chiarelli, who I called for to be fired.
Why?
Well, if we look back, we're not going to get into that because there were several missteps in that. Trading Tyler Seguin was one of them. We look at that. Chiarelli wins as general manager, wins the Stanley Cup of the Bruins in 2011. 3 years later, he's gone. Mind you, they fired Chiarelli before they fired Claude Julien. And yet here we are with Don Sweeney and Cam Neely, who fumbled the Swayman contract negotiations throughout the offseason, fiddled around the entire offseason playing around with this, making comments, this and that.
Right. Instead of just going ahead and getting it done.
Instead of going and getting it done, and maybe, too, trying to sign Marchand to, listen, Brad Marchand's not, the last contract they signed him to is an 8-year deal. That's not happening. But if you want to have your captain, who you just named your captain, mind you, come back and be a Bruin for the rest of your life.
You could have gotten it done.
You could have gotten it done. And so this is the last time, Clay, on this program that I will speak about the Boston Bruins, make the playoffs or not, which they're not going to. I refuse to talk about and legitimize a team that continues to be so unserious in the way things are going. And you could say, well, there are defenders out there. I'm reading articles now. The Bruins did very well. They did very well at the trade deadline because they brought in draft capital. And listen, if the goal is a retool, that's fine. That's fine. And if these picks are going to amount to anything, we'll see. But the Bruins cannot afford to wait around here. You just signed David Pastrnak to a huge extension. You just signed Jeremy Swayman to huge money. You have Morgan Geekie, who has been surprisingly strong this year. You have talent to assemble a good team, but I don't believe the Bruins can get to the next step until there is a change in front office, and I would say change in ownership.
I would say change in ownership because these guys are hamstrung. And what happened to Peter Chiarelli? He actually tried to go out and make deals, but that's what got him fired.
I should never have traded Tyler Seguin, but
I think his hands.
But
were
if
tied
the
on
goal,
that.
if the goal, Clay, okay, is to sign some players and to assemble a team that's good enough to make the playoffs, that's good enough to beat Toronto in 7 games, that's good enough to make to the second round, but nowhere near good enough to win the Stanley Cup, well, congratulations. Then that's what you're here for.
I submit to you, 1 championship in 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful hard to be that mediocre unless you want to be.
Right. So
these guys are, I agree with you. And let's take a caller.
Well, we don't have anyone on the line because they all were waiting for us to finish. So we encourage folks to call back. But sorry, it's a 2-man show here. We can't do it all, unfortunately. But I will say this: Don Sweeney deserves a huge amount of blame. Poor drafting, misses in free agency. The Bruins are probably going to snap their 8-year postseason streak this year at the end of the month here as the season ends. But
they're not making the playoffs. No.
Let's talk to John, who's on the line. John, good morning. Welcome on into the show, my friend.
How are you, Kevin? What a circus with the Boston Bruins. It never ends, does it?
It never ends.
It's quite obvious, Charlie. It's quite obvious.
It's more of a carnival than a circus.
It's unbelievable. It's obvious. Charlie Jacobs is running that team. Even my cousin said, who was a huge Bruins fan. I'm maybe 50% Bruins NHL fan. He even said Jacobs is running that team because hockey people like Cam Neely and Don Sweeney wouldn't take second-round picks for Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand and at least get $1 million tossed in.
So John, you would
nothing for these guys. They got that. It's a fire sale. It's Building 19 from the 1970s. Good things cheap.
Bro, that's true.
Remember
That's true. Good
I remember
cheap.
Building 19.
What it is. It was fire sales, and I'll tell you something. I love Building 19, and I'm proud to say all the clothes I wore in high school were from Building 19.
I don't know if you really want to say that, John.
Oh my goodness!
Why?
Yeah.
Hey, Clay, I'm not George Clooney.
No,
I never pretended to be George Clooney.
That's all right.
I wore whatever I could get my hands on.
Close enough. So John, you wouldn't put the blame on the guys that are actually making the moves, and that's Don Sweeney and Cam Neely.
Kevin, I don't think they're making the moves. I think it's Charlie Jacobs. I think you guys will remember. It goes back to all the bad ownership with the Bruins in the 1940s. There was a man named Weston Adams Sr. They named the Adams division after him.
Right.
He owned the Bruins. Listen to this one. He owned the Bruins. Milt Schmidt, maybe one of the greatest Bruins ever on the Kraut line with Dumart and Clapper. He made the All-Star team 3 years in a row. The 4th year, he went into Weston Adams' office with an appointment to talk about his salary. He wanted a raise from his, I think, $16,000 a year salary. Dog walkers made more than Milt Schmidt did in the 1940s. Dog walkers. Right, and I'm not criticizing dog walkers. We all need them, right? He went in there to try to get a raise. Weston Adams Sr. kicked him out of the meeting. And then Milcher made a famous line about him that I don't think I can repeat over the air.
No, certainly not.
Well,
no.
They went from 1941. They didn't win a championship from 1941 to 1970. So I have a feeling you're talking about that period.
Yeah. Well, that was the Mill. I don't know Milt Schmidt's first year, but I had the luxury of knowing Milt Schmidt. What a gentleman he was. He was like Mr. Bruin before Johnny Busick.
One of the greats.
He Oh, he was amazing. What a tough guy, too. They said Gordie Howe was the toughest player in that era, but I think Mel Schmidt beat him a few times. But getting back to the problem at hand, it's just a fire sale.
Yes,
and I'll tell you something, the people in the city deserve better.
They do.
Because when the Bruins were losing, the first year they opened the Fleet Center, was that 1996? They were only drawing 6,000 people a game.
Right.
In 96, with the bad team, bad ownership, and now you can't even get a Bruins ticket, and they're impossible to find.
It's been the same ownership for 50 years.
Right. Well, no,
yeah.
Well, who was? I think it was. What was the other? The Jacobs brothers. There was Jeremy Jacobs and another brother. And now, Kevin, you remember this name, Delaware North?
Correct. Yeah. I know.
It's still the same. It's still the same people. The Jacobs family. It's still them.
Yeah. So they. No, Clay. I'm not a big hockey aficionado.
Don't worry about it. We're making up for it.
What year did they buy that team? Are we talking
1975. They bought the team in 1975 after the Bruins, the Big Bad Bruins with Orr, Busick, and Exposito. They bought them at their height, and then they sold them all off.
Who owned it? I don't remember the Bruins ownership in the 50s and 60s. I don't remember any names. I can't put it. We all knew Walter Brown owned the Celtics.
Yeah, great for him.
In the 50s with Red and Cousy. But I can't remember the person that owned the Bruins in the 50s and 60s. I'm drawing a blank.
Well, it's probably a good reason for that. They didn't win anything.
Right, but they had to have ownership. Unless Walter Brown, it was a corporation. But I'll tell you something, these Jacobs has got to go. Just do it on behalf of the people of Boston. Because I saw something. It had to be about 1980 with Delaware North. They had control of all these concessions in the NBA and NHL arenas.
That's right.
And it was in some magazine, Delaware North was in the Forbes 500 most.
That's right. And Delaware North is Jeremy Jacobs. So we're gonna have to get off on that one right there. But yeah, Delaware North is Jeremy Jacobs.
Yeah. Well, John,
Delaware North. We're talking about Chevy, Ford, Camaros, all these high-powered businesses, and a sports concessionaire that sells hot dogs and beers. Yeah. Does that much volume to crack the Fortune 500 list? Something's rotten in Denmark, gentlemen.
Certainly is. So, John, we appreciate it, and we're going to continue to talk about the Bruins. But you're right. A circus, a carnival, whatever you want to call it, the current state of the Boston Bruins, especially yesterday. I want to thanks for calling in. Come find us anytime. You know that.
You guys are the best in the city. Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, we can't do it without you, John. Thanks so much. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Before Jeremy Jacobs owned the team, it was owned by Store Communications from 74 to 75 and the Boston Garden Arena Group from 1952 to 73. So those Boston Garden Arena Group were the guys who brought those championships in the 70s.
Well, I want to thank John for always walking us down memory lane, sort of setting
Weston
the context.
Adams.
Yeah,
Weston
that's very good. We like history here on the show. We talk a lot about it. But before we spoke to John, and again, the phone number, I know we've had some folks call in, 844-249-5247. Want to hear from everybody on any topic you want to talk about today. But right now we're talking about the Boston Bruins. And, well, speak of the devil, as the phone rings, why don't we talk to our friend Wayne, who's on the line. Wayne, good morning. Welcome on in.
Hey, Kevin, good morning. Clay, good morning. Happy birthday
Wayne.
to you.
How you doing? Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
No, you're welcome. So I'm guessing Brad Marchand's spirit animal will be the honey badger. Doesn't back down from a fight.
Doesn't back down. The guy was unbelievable. They call him the rat, but he was the toughest rat you've ever seen.
It's definitely a honey badger. But I'm calling this morning to talk about, I think, in my opinion, one of the most tragic sports figure in baseball, Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah. What's Shoeless got to do with today?
I think he got set up. He did not. I don't think he threw the World Series like they're saying that he did. I think his teammate Lefty Williams, they kind of threw his name in there for like star power, but I don't think he was guilty as charged.
Well,
Was there something in the news recently about this, Wayne? I must have missed it.
No. I'm just, it's just he's one of my tragic figures in sports. We were talking baseball last week about Alex Cora and the Red Sox. Should
Right.
they win another World Series, would that be enough to get him into the Hall of Fame? And with the blemishes on AC's record, I just kind of like piggyback with Shoeless Joe.
Well, Wayne, let me ask you this question, and you want to talk about people that should be in the Hall of Fame. The President Trump, recently stated that he would like to pardon Pete Rose. Are you one of the people that believes Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame?
I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I think, there's probably more guilt on his end that he probably would kind of hesitate to. But for what he did on the field, definitely he deserves to be in there.
I guess I'm just a pushover because I would say yes. Just roll me over. I think Pete Rose, for what he did on the field, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now the question is, how forgiving?
I could be influenced.
How forgiving is the MLB and the writers that elect some of these players to the Hall of Fame? They have not been forgiving of a lot of the guys that have taken steroids.
That's right.
Obviously, Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Mark McGwire, just to name Sammy Sosa, just to name a few. And I mean, Curt Schilling, given his political beliefs, they've kicked him off the ballot.
That's right.
And so I think, biases aside, I think there does need to be a greater conversation on forgiveness in the Major League Baseball League, and an understanding of, separating some off the field issues to talent on the field. Steroids, I think, is a different category because off the field issues translated to on the field play. So if you look at the stats, with Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, some of these guys, A-Rod, who I don't believe A-Rod should ever be in the Hall of Fame, but
it's because he was a Yankee.
little bit biased there. But a conversation should be had on their talent pre and post steroids. Roger Clemens as well.
I think if you were to do that, they'd all get in because they were all they were all great players before they were allegedly on steroids. As far as I can tell, Barry Bonds was, Mark McGwire, and Jose Canseco.
And I feel as these riders age out, the new crop of riders coming in may be a lot more lenient to these guys' cases.
Right.
Yeah, they might be. But we're going to get back to the Bruins and the Celtics with the limited time we have, because we're going to get back to the Red Sox later on in the program.
If we have time, yeah.
But Wayne, thank you very much.
I agree with Kevin. Change the ownership, change the leadership there. They're not going to win anything with this ownership. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Wayne. Always a pleasure.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
It's a good friend, Wayne, there. Well, do you want to do a commercial, and then we'll come back to this?
We're going to do two commercials in a row. We're just going to knock two out here. Yeah, hit that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, how would you like to feel better, stand straighter, and enjoy daily activities without pain? Then look no further than Karma Don Yoga. As one of the more accomplished yoga instructors in the New England area, Karma embraces many different styles of yoga, including vinyasa, slow flow, yin, and restorative, in order to tap into your pranic energy and create a balanced mix of healing, stretch, and strength. Find her and her very affordable classes online at karmadonyoga.com. That's karma, like good karma, bad karma, dawn, like the morning dawn, yoga.com.
Hey, are you feeling a little achy or sore from the cold weather? Then take a visit to Dylan's Russian Steam Bath. At Dylan's Dry Sauna or Wet Steam Room, you can de-escalate, de-stress, and detox your body and mind. A hot place of massage or a variety of oil massages are available. You will enjoy the relaxed atmosphere that features a nutritious snack bar, large screen televisions, and comfortable lounge chairs to cool off in during your visit. They have two convenient locations, one in Chelsea and the other in Quincy.
Find them online at Dylan's Russian Steam Bath or call 617-549-3484 for more information. To enjoy your best health, visit Dylan's Russian Steam Bath, where heat, steam, and water have a therapeutic effect.
I think I need to take a yoga class or go to a steam bath and talk about the Boston Bruins.
That's all you
That
got to
much.
do. You can go there and do that. You can do it all at the same time.
Some great sponsors of the show. Reminder, the phone number, 844-249-5247. Going to finish up our discussion on the Bruins right now. And as I said before, this will be the last time on this program that I will speak about the Boston Bruins until a significant change is held. As we get another call in line, this will be the third time I said this. We have a caller. I don't think people want to hear me.
Every time they say it.
I don't think people want to hear me stop talking about the Bruins, but that's okay.
Let's go.
All right, let's talk to our friend. I think this is Patrick from Quincy who's on the line. Good morning. Welcome on in.
Yeah, good morning. I'm calling to issue an arrest warrant for Donald Sweeney of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm actually not joking. I'm being dead serious. I'm at Roxy's Meat Market right now in Quincy. And,
good.
It's the talk of the market there. Everybody's saying the same thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I told them I'd call on their behalf. This is just insane. And first of all, happy birthday, Clay. I'm sorry you have to celebrate it this way, but hopefully today's a better day, and hopefully the next few days get better. But,
I mean, Brad Marchand, my favorite, my favorite play on the Bruins for the last 10 years gets traded on my birthday. Oh, well, the day before, yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, talk about a slap in the face. I mean, I'm sorry to, I'm not trying to pile on or anything, but that's really what this team has done to you and to the entire fan base. It's nuts. And, yeah, I agree pretty much on everything that you guys have said. I do want to disagree with one thing that you said, Kevin. It looks like it's a second-round pick, but don't forget who's making the draft pick here. So this is really like a sixth-round pick we got for Brad Marchand. It's even more of a slap in the face to the guy who contributed perhaps more than any other player to this franchise in history. It's probably about a fifth or sixth-round pick because this guy couldn't pick. I mean, he couldn't pick hay out of a needle. I mean, forget needle in a haystack. If he was trying to pick hay out of a needle, he couldn't do it. So, I mean, this is just, I mean, it's going to be nothing. I mean, look at 2015. If people think, oh, you're exaggerating, give him one more chance. I hate to go back to the 2015 draft, but you really have to try to mess that one up. That was one of the more loaded drafts. He had 3 picks in a row in the middle. And he literally got the only 3 bad players of the draft. Like, I mean, this guy, I think he tries to mess things up. I don't know. That's a bit of a conspiracy, but I don't know how one could be as dumb as he is. And the fact that he's a little coward chicken too, hiding behind coaches' firings and all this other stuff. It almost sounded like he was trying to blame Brad Marchand for being traded, even though he's the one who made the move when Marchand said repeatedly he wanted to retire here. That's what it sounded like during the press conference. That's the vibe I was getting. This guy's a coward. He can't take responsibility for anything. And, I think all the other moves were good, but I'm not going to give him credit like everybody else is. This is the most loaded. This is the best sellers market probably we've had in forever, probably since I've been alive anyway.
Right.
I mean, and he still kind of messed it up because he couldn't even get a first-round pick for Marchand. I mean, this guy will mess anything up.
Or Charlie Coyle.
Can't even straight hay from a needle. I mean, Charlie Coyle. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but I mean, I'm ready to jump on the Panthers bandwagon, to be honest. I mean,
I think a lot of people are.
Go ahead and
Matthew
do it.
Matthew Tkachuk's kind of grown on me after the 4 Nations and Brad Marchand. Oh my! You know what I'd love to? I mean, I don't know. We're not going to get to face Brad Marchand again this year. He's injured. Won't be playing on Tuesday. But wouldn't it be awesome if he returns to his old self? Wouldn't it be awesome if he just returns to his old self and just sleuth what's one of the Bruins, puts him out for the year? Oh my goodness, that would be amazing.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
You said both Marchand and of course Matthew Tkachuk are both hurt. Marchand week to week, and Tkachuk obviously on IR long term. Panthers saying that they hope to have him back for the playoffs, and the Panthers right now in a dogfight right now in the Eastern and the Atlantic Division in the Eastern Conference standings. If you look at it right now, of course, Florida only 2 up of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and only 3 up right now of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have played very well in the second half of the year. The Bruins right now, Patrick, still at 64 points, still only 3 points out of a wild card.
how many games in hand, though?
Yeah,
That's
right,
the question.
exactly right. I don't think they have much of a chance
They're not
to
gonna do it.
make the playoffs. They've lost 3 in a row. They're in Tampa this afternoon at 3:00, and we'll see what happens.
No, they're not being Tampa.
I'm someone who's saying, I've said this before. I think I said this on air last week too, Clay, is that Jeremy Swayman, Joe Sacco needs to start Jonas Corposalo more. I'm not the way Swayman has played this year. I've just not been impressed. And people will say, "Oh, it's because the talent in front of him. He can't do everything." He's had some good starts. There's no doubt about it. But at this point, let's give Jonas Corposalo some more opportunities behind the net. What say you, Patrick, on that?
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I would even consider. I'd even consider emptying the entire Providence system too. I mean, the season's over. Who even cares at this point? I don't. But yeah, Swayman's been a disaster, and honestly, that's where you want to talk about where this season went downhill.
Yep,
It was
exactly
the Swayman negotiation.
Mhm.
That's where it happened. And Don Sweeney messed that up. He can't draft to save his life. He's fired like a record number of coaches, it seems like, since he's been here. And for whatever reason, the one guy that's been here that whole time, ownership doesn't seem to see him as the problem.
I said the same thing.
It's a weird coincidence. The one guy that's been here,
preach it to the choir.
Denominator. Yeah, I mean, Martian was the last guy on the 2011 team. Literally, like, even the players haven't been here that long. I mean, this is the one guy, and he can't draft to save his life. I think he tries to pick the worst guys in the draft because, again, I don't know how you mess some of these drafts up as badly as he has. And, again, I would just say that we basically got nothing for Brad Martian. That second-round pick is a 6, unless we fire Don Sweeney. And Cam Neely's got to go, too. But, yeah, so basically, congratulations. You just gave up arguably, I'm not saying he is. I don't think he is. I mean, there's been a lot of greats in history, but he's one of the greats in Bruins history.
No doubt.
Just gave him away for nothing to your division rival who just knocked you out of the playoffs 2 years in a row. I hope that feels good. Apparently it does. Apparently ownership doesn't give a damn.
Okay. Well,
There we
thank
go.
you, Patrick. Thank you for calling.
Patrick,
Yeah,
I don't think
absolutely.
you're going to be on Don Sweeney's Christmas card list this
No,
year.
he's not calling
Yeah.
you.
I hope I am. I might have a surprise for him.
Okay. All right. Patrick, thanks so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right.
Well, they're all fired up today, and
Yeah,
I
well,
appreciate
they
that. It
deserve
just
it.
shows the intensity, Clay, and the passion of Bruins fans and what Brad Marchand meant to this team.
Which is why they deserve more.
Exactly
They deserve
right.
more. After 50 years, you gave them what do we have to? It's going to be 2 championships in 100 years.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
So, again, I'll say it again. If anyone wants to call before I say this.
844-249-5247.
So I'm not going to talk about the Bruins again until there's real accountability. Right now, front office and the ownership and the organization has real accountability problem. And they'll have to answer to the fans in the offseason and going forward. And if Don Sweeney and Cam Neely continue to be in charge of this team, and yes, everybody says on paper there's some young talent going forward, and the Bruins may be back in the playoffs next year.
That's hype.
Well, I don't believe it for a second.
Right.
And I just was looking at this too, Clay, and then we're going to move to the Celtics here in just a moment. But 2 years ago, the Bruins had their record winning streak, obviously, the
Right.
most
Great.
wins.
Great win.
And then, of course, we're bounced in the first round. Only 6 players, Clay, 6 players who are on that team remain on the team right now.
Yeah, well, the Bruins, they're not a loyal organization to their players. Let's just get it that way. And as we see with Brad Marchand, and that hurts. Actually, that does hurt. And if they don't understand that, then there's nothing we can tell them. I mean, if they don't know that after 50 years of owning the club, they're never going to learn.
Well, thank goodness for David Pastrnak. The one good thing I guess Don Sweeney and ownership did was re-sign him and extend him, because without him, this team would be nowhere, would be absolutely nowhere without him.
They don't want to be nowhere. They just want to be mediocre, right in the middle, just enough so there's fannies in the seats. Not that they care about the fannies in the seats, but they want those fannies.
Well, not to mention,
in the
it cost, you mentioned this, it cost a lot of money to go to a Bruins game. Not to mention, parking, not to mention food and beverages. It's like, you want to have a beer at a Bruins game? It's like $14.50 for one of them. It's a joke.
Well, we're going to move off from that. But anybody else want to call in on the Bruins, please do so, because we understand there's a lot of frustration.
That's the last time I'll be talking about it.
We're going to move on to the Celtics.
Oh,
the
good.
Celtics. The Celtics won 2 games this week, back-to-back games, with Derek White and Peyton Pritchard each scoring for over 40 points.
There they are right there.
Amazing thing is that I think Peyton Pritchard is the only guy coming off the bench who's ever done that.
Yeah.
So you got 2 teammates that score 40 points, but this is the first time in the history of the NBA as the Celtics are always setting NBA records in history because they are that team that one of the guys came off the bench to score 40, and actually he's the one who scored the most points. He scored 43.
Well, big back-to-back wins for the Celtics against Portland on Wednesday night. They went down to Philly on Thursday night, took care of them. A big game tonight at the TD Garden where the Lakers come to town, primetime 8:30 matchup. Clay, have you looked at the ticket prices for this game? If you haven't,
aren't they the same as always? You mean they're more?
Do you want to sit courtside tonight? Do you want to sit courtside?
I would love to sit courtside.
How much do you think a courtside ticket is going for tonight? Just out of curiosity, what's your best guess?
Well, they generally go for $400 to $700 to sit courts. I mean, well, yeah.
Okay. Well, courtside tickets are going for a little bit more than that, $23,000. So how about we buy 2 or 3 for us? Tonight. We have that, right?
Let me go. I'll spring for it, Kevin. This is my birthday.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, the cheapest tickets tonight at the Garden are in the balcony and the way up in the balcony for a mere $485 to sit in the balcony at the rafters tonight to watch the Celtics take on the Lakers. And the average price out of all this, $731. And this marks the 7th most expensive NBA regular season game on record. And, well, every game in the top 10 contains the LA Lakers, which
is that true?
Says a lot. Yeah, that's true. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, good for them. Good for them. As much as I don't like the Lakers, they still have ownership that would do what it takes to put a team out there that has a chance of winning. So, do you believe this is a preview of the NBA Finals? No, I don't think that Lakers are going to get by the Nuggets or OKC if they come up against it. They might not get past Golden State. So I think the Celtics will be there, but I don't think the Lakers will be there. I could be wrong because this is why they play the game, to see who is going to be there. They don't ask me.
Right. Well, Lakers have won 8 in a row. Obviously, Luka Doncic is settling in nicely with the LA Lakers. They just had a overtime win against the Knicks the other night. Doncic with 32 points, and he'll likely play tonight against the Celtics, dealing with a little bit of right knee contusion.
Have you watched any of their games? How was that LeBron Luka thing working? Because each one of them demands the ball.
Well, they're winning, Clay, and so at the end of the day, I think Lakers fans will take 8 wins in a row, and the Lakers have shut up the standings too. Now they're second in the Western Conference, of course. Now still 11 back of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Lakers fans will take anything. They'll take the scum of the earth as long as they can get a winner. They're not particular about the character.
Well, let me tell you something, Clay. We've talked about the Luka Doncic trade before. Well, all is not well in Dallas.
Why?
Kyrie Irving, torn ACL, out for the year.
Gone.
Anthony Davis likely not to come back for the year. They said he's probably going to miss the rest of the year.
Why not? They're going nowhere.
No timetable for return with his left adductor strain.
Right.
Klay Thompson is there, but not able to do much for the Dallas Mavericks, who, in my mind, we just talk about Brad Marchand being traded. I mean, some of these head scratcher trades. And I know you sort of defended the trade. I know you're not a Luka Doncic fan. You don't believe that he can bring a team to an NBA championship, even though he did bring the Dallas Mavericks to an NBA championship last year. And you believe that since the Mavericks were in the NBA Finals with Luka, they couldn't have won because Luka was on the team, which I still don't understand that logic. But we're all entitled to our opinions, and that's okay. And it's your birthday, so I won't hit you that hard on it. But I look forward to seeing this game tonight against the Celtics and the Lakers, and seeing Luka Doncic in a real primetime matchup. He returns, obviously, to the TD Garden. Obviously with the Mavericks in the NBA Finals last year. But
all we're going to see is a bunch of flopping and flipping and flopping from Luka and LeBron, and the NBA resembling like the WWE. Do you know, I used to have a limousine company. And one time I took this family to a wrestling match. And, they went to the wrestling match and they came out and they were talking all about it. And I inadvertently said, "You do know that's fake, right?"
Right.
And I almost, the lady, she was about 80 years old. She was about to take my head off. Well, that's the way I feel about NBA fans for the most part. They don't know that the NBA rigs some of these, kowtows or tries to make stars like Luka. Luka wouldn't be a star if they didn't call fouls for him all the time. And neither would LeBron at this point in his life. If they didn't let Giannis run over people. So we do have this circus atmosphere that even John brought up that resembles around the Bruins in ownership. But we also have that with the NBA, where people actually think some of it is real when Luka is not really what they want. They're going to make this a close game, but it shouldn't be. If all things were equal, the Celtics would blow this team out by 25.
Well, we'll see. Last time these two teams faced off was in L.A. in January. The Lakers really beating up the Celtics in that game, 117-96. Celtics are favored by 7.5 tonight. Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, both questionable to play.
Hope they don't play.
Looks like you hope they don't play. Okay. LeBron and Luka Doncic, both game time decisions as well, but both expected to play. They wouldn't miss that opportunity to play against the Celtics, no doubt about it. So
game time decisions.
Anyway, that's what's going on in the Celtics right now. But you're right about Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. Great game on Wednesday night against the Portland Trailblazers. Coming off the bench, Pritchard with 43, Derek White with 41. And where was Jaylen Brown in that one? 18 points.
Peyton had 10 rebounds with that game, too.
Correct, yep. That was great to see. No Tatum and no Holiday and Porzingis in that game either. All righty then. Why don't we say hello to our friends at Oyama Investments? Then we'll talk a little bit about the Red Sox. Or if you have anything more in the NBA?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention Luke Cornett.
Sure.
Luke Cornett is anchoring a lot of that team because Porzingis has been out for the last I don't know how many games, but Luke Cornett is doing
about 10 days.
A heck of a job.
Yeah.
We call him the Green Cornett because he's just making it all happen. 9 rebounds, 6 assists per game. But do you know that Luke Cornett used to be a 3-point shooter in college? As a matter of fact, he's a leader, NCAA all-time leader for 3-point shots made by a player 7 feet over and taller.
He's a great person. Great player for the Celtics. And Celtics 8-pack of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have won 13 in a row.
Yeah.
And Cleveland showing no signs of slowing down this year. And it's going to be very interesting to see as the playoffs start up what happens with some of these teams. I think you have 3 strong teams in the Eastern Conference right now: the Cavaliers, the Celtics, and the New York Knicks. Otherwise, you look at the 3 other teams: the Bucks, the Pacers, and the Detroit Pistons, who continue to surprise a lot of people. I can't expect many of them to go anywhere, but look out for the Pistons. I'd like to see them make it to the second round at least to head to the playoffs. But
we'll see.
It's just a disgrace. Like, you have the Bulls at the 10th seed at 25 and 38,
they don't care.
Making the playoffs.
They don't care.
Scrap the play-in tournament. It doesn't work. Go back to 1 through 8.
Reinsdorf cares even less about his team than the Jacobs do about the Bruins. Let's take care about.
Sure. Why don't we say hello to our friends at Oyama Investments, another great group who we're proud to sponsor with here on the show. Investments where your dreams, they do find a foundation. Oyama Investments, they're just more than your real estate partner. They're your trusted partner, building a secure future. Whether you're investing in a property that will grow with you or purchasing your dream home, they make the process easy, transparent, and rewarding. Oyama Investments specializes in finding properties that align perfectly with your goals. Imagine yourself owning a piece of the future. Whether it be a luxury apartment, commercial space, or a family home in the perfect neighborhood. And if you're new to the real estate investment world, well, don't worry. We're here every step of the way, helping you make informed choices with confidence. With real estate prices rising, there's never been a better time to invest. And if you're ready to see your dreams come to life, visit oyamainvestments.com or give them a ring today, 617-221-8881, where your vision becomes reality. That's our good friends at Oyama Investments. There we go. A nice musical interlude there for our good friends from Art Blakely. Clay, about 6 minutes to go here on the show. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Sox and the spring training as we get ready to head to the opening day in a few short weeks here. What have you seen so far?
Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler is that guy. Fantastic stuff. Garrett Crochet. Very, very good. Those are my surprises as far as the pitching goes. But then they still have Tanner Houck, Brian Bello. So these guys are rounded into shape, and I think they have some more arms. But the surprises of this spring training has been Trevor Story, who's hitting 476, Alex Bregman, 471, Nick Sogard, 462, Tracy Thompson, 333 with 4 home runs. Saddam Rafaela is continuing this pace. Mickey Romero, 4 of 7, 667. And the disappointments have been Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, David Hamilton, and Marquise Grissom. I don't know if those guys, some guys are going to go back down to the minors. Some guys might be outright released, but I like this team.
Well, you mentioned Walker Buehler. I mean, this is a guy the Red Sox signed after having a down year coming back from Tommy John surgery. But this is a guy, Clay, that's been an all-star, that's been in situations with the LA Dodgers. If he's able to replicate some of his success from 4 or 5 years ago when he was an all-star in 2019, 2021, won 2 World Series, of course, last year as well, has thrown a combined no-hitter. If he's able to replicate some of that success, look out. Because combined Crochet, Walker Buehler, we still have yet to see Lucas Giolito, who's coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Wow.
We haven't seen Cutter Crawford or Brian Bello yet this spring training due to injury, and reports are that both are maybe not going to be able to be ready for opening day, but you have Tanner Houck. If these guys stay healthy and continue to pitch at a rate where the offense continues to stabilize them as well and help them out, this team could be really good. I think it's a tough division. Obviously, we talked about it before with Baltimore. And their young talent. The Yankees are going to be in there. You can't count out the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't think Toronto's going to do much this year, but it all depends on the health and consistency of the Boston Red Sox and their arms. And I think if we continue to see Walker Buehler pitch as well as he's doing in spring training now and replicate some of that success, I was very happy to see the Red Sox bring in Walker Buehler because I'm always happy to see guys come in the Red Sox that have proven veteran talent, and he's someone that certainly fits that mold. So let's hope for a good season for all these guys, and I'm excited to see what Lucas Giolito will be able to bring to the Red Sox.
He's really high on this guy.
Well, he's had some past success before. Obviously, Tommy John surgery last year, and we didn't get to see him at all. But a guy that was drafted by the Washington Nationals a few years ago and was someone who pitched well with the Chicago White Sox in years before, was an all-star in 2019, and hasn't really lived up to some of the success I think a lot of people thought he was going to be, but he's been a great anchor of rotations nonetheless, and I think he'll be able to fit in nicely with the Red Sox. And as for the lineup, we haven't seen Rafael Devers yet. Reports that he's going to be able to start playing this week down in Fort Myers. The Red Sox are participating in spring training. We haven't seen Willie Abreu yet, dealing with an illness. You still have, you mentioned, Alex Bregman, Trevor Story. The situation at what's going to happen at the hot corner, who's going to play third, who's going to play second, who's going to be DH, hasn't been decided yet. We expect that to come soon. And
I think Devers is injured. He injured.
What I predict to happen is Bregman will start at third this year, and Devers will start as designated hitter until he's deemed healthy, and maybe that will just be a continual thing. But
I want to bring up something else.
Sure, go ahead.
We have a guy here, Lucas. Well, you're talking about Lucas Giolito.
Correct.
But there's another guy who's from Boston. He's a Dominican guy from Boston. He was throwing 99 to 100. Luis Guerrero. Luis Guerrero. They have some arms. So Hunter Dobbins, Luis Guerrero, Cutter Crawford. Don't forget Aroldis Chapman.
Aroldis Chapman, 36 years old. The problem is, Clay, spring training, the Red Sox invite some of these players to play for them during spring training. They may have great spring training, but do they fit into the formula in the offseason plan of Craig Breslow and Alex Cora? You could have a great spring training, but unfortunately, you can only carry a certain amount of players.
Garrett Whitlock.
Well, Garrett Whitlock has been a good pitcher when he's been healthy.
Right.
The operative word there is healthy. And so will Garrett Whitlock be able to stay off the injured list and be the pitcher that we hope and expect him to be
this year?
That's $1 million question.
Let it be.
Let it be for everybody.
Yeah,
let it be for everybody.
But for this year, come on.
Well, listen, I give Craig Breslow great credit. He did what Red Sox fans have been talking about for a long time now. Spend money. Bring these players in. You have all these draft picks. You can't use them all, so let's trade them. And that happened with Crochet. And you have a good mix of young talent and veteran talent. Oftentimes, Clay, that is the recipe for success in the MLB. And in a tough division like the AL East, I believe this team will be back in the playoffs. I know you're very high on them in about 50 seconds to go here. You believe they're going to make the World Series. I'm not ready to make that prediction yet, but we shall see.
I don't have as much time left as you do.
As spring training moves on here. Opening day in just a couple of short weeks.
1 minute left here.
We have less than that, 40 seconds. Want to thank everybody for calling in. And Clay, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Kevin.
the day.
Yes.
And many more to you.
Thanks, everybody. And happy birthday to Butch Coleman. I remembered.
Happy birthday, Butch.
Yeah, best man at my wedding.
Oh, very good. Well, that's great. And thanks for all the calls as well. Couldn't do it without all the entertaining calls and history lessons and everything in between. So we'll see everybody next week, and get ready for St. Patrick's Day too around here too. So look forward to that. But happy birthday, Clay. Talk to everybody next week.
Take care, everybody.
Boycott the Bruins.
You won't catch me partying with Diddy. I ain't TD Jakes. And Kirk Franklin's getting the call the LGBT because he fake.
Building healthy families that